It's wild to think that one chair can be the cause of so much death, but in a small town in England, one chair has proven to be the most murderous thing living in their community. In the 1970s, a construction worker stopped by the inn for a drink and he sat in the cursed chair. Later that day, he tragically fell to his death at his worksite. A similar story involves a delivery driver who paused at the inn for lunch and they sat in the chair. Shortly after leaving, they were involved in a fatal car crash on the A61. That's just two of the stories. You should hear the others. Hello, listeners. Welcome to Dark and Divine Encounters. I'm your host, Denise Dodge, and each episode I will be guiding you through two real supernatural encounters, one eerie and the other heartwarming. Life is a mix of trials and triumphs, and I've seen that the paranormal is no different. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button, and follow us on social media for updates. New episodes drop every Wednesday. Share this podcast with people you know who love scary stories, spiritual lore, and anything unexplained. This podcast features stories of paranormal activity and true crime, which may contain details of events that may be triggering for listeners. Take care of your needs first and always. For our dark segment, I can't wait to talk about the Busby Stoop chair. This cursed seat is said to bring death to anyone who dares to sit in it, with a chilling history of tragedy following those who test its dark power. For our divine segment, we're shifting to a place of enlightenment under the Bodhi Tree in ancient India, where Siddhartha Gautama sat in meditation and found the path to awakening. This story reminds us that unlike the Busby chair, not every seat brings fear, some bring peace, and sometimes the answers to life's problems. Imagine a chair so cursed that simply sitting in it could be your last act in this world. A simple, unassuming furniture. Yet its dark history has struck terror into all who dared to tempt fate. This is the tale of the Busby Stoop chair, a chair stained with the wrath of a murderer and haunted by a chilling legacy. For nearly 300 years, whispers have warned of the curse that clung to it, marking anyone who sits down with an untimely death. But how could a chair, just wooden nails, or pegs in this case actually, bring about such fear? To understand, we need to go back to the early 1700s to the tiny village of North Yorkshire, England. That the story of a man named Thomas Busby begins and ends with an execution and a final furious curse. Everyone in this town agrees that this is not the chair that anyone wants to sit in, and those who did, they didn't sit in it twice. The oak chair, famously known as the Busby's Stoop chair or the dead man's chair, is said to bear a deadly curse tied to Thomas Busby. He is a convicted murderer who met his fate in North Yorkshire, England in 1702. Local legend claims that Busby placed a curse on the chair just before he was hanged, leading to a string of mysterious deaths throughout the years since, all linked to those who dared to sit in it. Today, the chair is a notorious piece of history and it's housed in the Thirsk Museum. It's carefully displayed and it's suspended in midair so to ensure that no one, not even on accident, can take a seat and tempt fate. 1702, Thomas Busby took the life of his father-in-law, Daniel Oddy. This wasn't just a family dispute. Busby and Daniel had a criminal enterprise centered on forging currency, or coining, and they were operating out of the small North Yorkshire village of Wisk. Tensions arose over Busby's relationship with Oddy's daughter, eventually leading to a violent confrontation that ended in murder. After his arrest, trial, and conviction, Busby was condemned to death by hanging. Following the execution, his body was displayed at a gibbet at the lonely Sandhutton Crossroads, a grim marker that kept the memory of his notorious criminal and his fate alive for years to come. The details surrounding the curse on Busby's chair varies, with some claiming that he was drunk and seated in it at the time of his arrest, while others believe that he cursed it on his way to the execution. Either way, the story of the chair's curse has endured, casting a dark shadow in the years since Busby's death. This notorious criminal and his execution were long remembered. In 1859, the English antiquarian and poet, Yorkshire historian William Grange wrote, "The bones of the poor wretch who had committed murder were hung to fester in the sunshine and blow in the tempest until they fell piecemeal to earth. And tradition yet tells tales of night wanderers being terrified when passing this dreaded spot." Hey listeners, are you ready to join over 9 million families worldwide who are transforming their homes with smart home technology? EUFY has so many products to make your life easier, including robot vacuums, video doorbells, floodlights, breast pumps, and even smart socks. I didn't even know smart socks was a thing, but it is. Smart socks fit on your baby's feet while sleeping to monitor heart rate and oxygen to bring you reassurance that your bundle of joy is safe and okay. If great products should be thoughtfully designed to meet your needs. And at EUFY, they care about more than just functional performance. Their intuitive, human-first technology seamlessly integrates into your life, helping you focus on what really matters. Plus, with a hassle-free warranty, a 30-day money-back guarantee, free shipping, and lifetime customer service, you can have peace of mind for you and your family. If you want to support our podcast while enjoying amazing smart home products, click on my affiliate link to shop at EUFY. The link is in my show description, and your purchase helps keep our show running. Also, don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button, and leave a comment with your thoughts. Invite your friends and family who love the supernatural, unexplained, and spiritual lore to listen to our podcast too. Thank you so much. Busby was known to favor a specific chair at the inn, and after his death, a deadly curse became attached to it. In one version of the tale, just before he was hanged, Busby placed the curse himself, allegedly declaring, "May sudden death come to anyone who dares to sit in my chair." From then on, it was said that anyone who took a seat in that chair would face the same grim fate, a swift and untimely death. The legend of the so-called death chair spread so widely that the inn eventually adopted the name the Busby Stoop Inn, named for the post where Busby's body was once displayed. The chair certainly seems to have lived up to its deadly reputation. Stories abound of those who braved a seat in it and met a tragic end. In 1894, a chimney sweep reportedly sat in the chair only to be discovered the next morning hanging near the very post where Busby's body once swung. During World War II, Canadian airmen stationed nearby at Skipton-on-Swale are said to have dared each other to sit in the infamous chair, and those who did supposedly did not come back from their mission. In 1967, 2 Royal Air Force pilots took a seat in the infamous chair. Later that night, on their drive home from the pub, they crashed into a tree and lost their lives. Just a few years after that, a builder accepted a dare to sit in the cursed chair, only to fall to his death from a rooftop just hours later. In the 1970s, a construction worker stopped at the inn for a drink, and he sat in the cursed chair. Later that day, he tragically fell to his death at his worksite. A similar story involves a delivery driver who paused at the inn for lunch and sat in the chair. Shortly after leaving, he was involved in a fatal car crash on the A61. A roof repairman also sat in the chair, and not long after, he died in a work-related accident, further fueling the growing fear surrounding the chair's curse. One of the strangest tales is that of a cleaning woman who accidentally tripped and ended up sitting in the chair while she was working at the inn. She didn't even mean to sit in the chair. She tripped and fell in. Not long after, she was diagnosed with a brain tumor and passed away. In 1978, the inn's landlord had finally had enough. He moved the cursed chair out of sight and placed it in the cellar, hoping to keep it away from the public. But it didn't end there. When a delivery man noticed the chair among the beer barrels, curiosity got the better of him, and he sat down for a quick break. Just minutes later, he was involved in a fatal crash a few miles down the road. Realizing the chair's curse was impossible to escape, Earnshaw decided to donate it to the Thirsk Museum, and that is where it remains to this day. And to prevent any living human body from accidentally sitting in it again, the chair is now suspended from the ceiling, ensuring that no more unwitting souls will dare take a break in the cursed seat. Despite any doubts that people may have whether the chair is truly cursed, whether or not it actually was made when Thomas Busby was alive, because there's a speculation that the chair is a hoax, the owner of the chair has decided that there is just no point in taking the risk. So the chair, it stays up high on a wall, and no one can sit in it. You've just heard a chilling story of a chair that brings death to anyone who sits in it. But here at Dark and Divine Encounters, we know that not every seat is shrouded in fear. Some bring profound insight and transformation. So let's shift from a chair that brings death to a seat under a tree that brings enlightenment. Our next story follows Siddhartha Gautama, left behind a life of luxury, and by sitting under the Bodhi Tree, he discovered a path that would illuminate the way to inner peace and awakening for countless people all over the globe. In today's world, almost everyone has heard of Buddhism and Buddha. Today, I'm excited to share with you how taking a seat under a fig tree and through sincere self-reflection, he became enlightened and changed the world. Siddhartha Gautama would later become known as the Buddha. He was born into royalty in the ancient kingdom of Kapilavatthu. I might be saying that wrong. I apologize if I am. It is near the border of modern-day Nepal and India. He was raised as a prince, and he was surrounded by wealth and luxury. His father, King Sodana, sheltered him from any form of suffering. Despite his comfortable life, Siddhartha grew very curious about the world beyond the palace walls. When he eventually encountered the realities of aging, sickness, and death, he became deeply troubled. He decided to set out on a spiritual journey because he wanted to understand the nature of suffering. He chose to leave his wife and child, and he chose to leave his princely status as well at the age of 29. Siddhartha became a wandering monk and was committed to discovering a path to lasting peace and happiness for everybody. At the age of 29, he decided to leave his home and family behind. He wandered south from his hometown, and he went to a kingdom that was ruled by King Bimbisara. On his first morning in the city, Siddhartha walked through the streets, going from house to house with an alms bowl, collecting food for the day. Siddhartha traveled along the Ganges River, looking for teachers who would guide him spiritually. He found Alara Kalama and Udaka Ramaputta, who were highly regarded meditation teachers at the time. Eager to learn, Siddhartha trained first under Uddaka Ramaputta and then with Alara Kalama. He quickly absorbed all they could teach him, but realized that he had not yet discovered how to end world suffering. He decided, I must find the truth for myself. So he continued on. Siddhartha and 5 companions went to a forest near the village of Uruvela, where other holy men practiced extreme forms of self-denial. They believed they could reach enlightenment by enduring severe hardship, like sleeping on beds of nails or eating almost nothing. Siddhartha found a quiet place by the river, and he joined in with the intense practices, limiting himself to a single grain of wheat and 1 sesame seed per day, sometimes fasting completely and not eating anything at all. His body became emaciated, covered in dust, and birds nestled in his tangled hair. He sat motionless even when insects landed on him. One evening, as he sat in meditation, a group of girls passed by, playing lutes and singing. Ready to embrace your adventurous side and explore the globe? Begin with an afternoon tea in North Yorkshire, complete with scones, sandwiches, and all the cozy charm that you can imagine. But the day's adventure doesn't end there. You can head over to the Thirst Museum, where shadows whisper of dark tales, and the infamous Busby chair. Or maybe it's time for a deeper kind of exploration. Imagine traveling to Bodh Gaya in India, the sacred heart of Buddhism, and join a guided group tour. This isn't just any site. You can stand beneath the very same Bodhi Tree where Buddha reached enlightenment. You'll feel the powerful energy of the pilgrimage site, surrounded by monks and fellow travelers. With Viator, your next adventure can take you to hidden corners and legendary sites across the globe, and even in your own city. If you want to support our podcast while enjoying tours and experiences all over this earth, click on my affiliate link to find experiences on Viator. The link is in my show description. Your purchase helps keep our show running. And don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button, and leave a comment with your thoughts. Invite your friends and family who love the supernatural, unexplained, and spiritual lore to listen to our podcast too. Thank you so much. One evening, as he sat in meditation, a group of girls passed by, playing lutes and singing. Siddhartha reflected to himself, thinking, when the strings on a lute are too loose, it doesn't play well. And if they're too tight, they snap. But when they're balanced just right, they make beautiful music. I think maybe I've been too extreme. He realized that neither luxury nor harsh self-denial was the right path. It wasn't going to solve the world's problems. He decided to abandon the extremes, and soon after, while bathing, he fainted from the weakness. A local village girl named Sujata saw him, and she brought him some rice and milk, and it very quickly started restoring his strength. However, his 5 friends, seeing him eat, believed that he had abandoned his pursuit, and so they left him. Siddhartha recalled meditating peacefully as a child under a rose apple tree, and he thought, maybe I should meditate like that again. Maybe that will lead me to enlightenment. He went back to eating regularly and setting out for Bodhi Gaya. Bodhi Gaya is a grove, and he chose a large Bodhi tree. He sat down underneath it, and he made a vow, I will not leave this place until I discover a way to end all sorrow. He meditated under the tree, for 49 days. He was determined to uncover the roots of suffering. Mara, the tempter, tried to distract him with frightening visions and sent his beautiful daughters to entice him. But Siddhartha's pure intention of trying to find the solution to world suffering shielded him from all of Mara's attacks. As he meditated, Siddhartha gained insight into the true nature of life and suffering. In his meditations, he was able to realize that greed, selfishness, and ignorance cause suffering, and that by letting go of those three things, greed, selfishness, and ignorance, people can find peace. One full moon night in May, Siddhartha entered a deep state of meditation. As the morning star rose, he reached enlightenment and became the Buddha, which means the awakened one. At the age of 35, he achieved his goal of enlightenment. Buddha rose, he looked back at the tree, and he was full of gratitude for the shelter it gave him. From that day on, that tree, it was called the Bodhi Tree, and it was the tree of enlightenment. We want to hear your own paranormal, even spiritual experiences. Have you had an encounter with spirit or experienced something that you just can't explain? Send your experiences our way and you might hear them featured on an upcoming episode. You can reach out via email, social media, or through our website. And if you'd like to buy me a cup of coffee, my donation links are in the show description along with a link to the show notes. Your support helps us keep exploring real paranormal and spiritual encounters together. Please share this podcast with people you know who love scary stories, spiritual lore, and anything unexplained. That brings us to the end of today's episode. We've balanced the scales of the paranormal, revealing both the unsettling and the uplifting. So thank you for listening to Dark and Divine Encounters. Until next time, tread lightly but fearlessly.